folks, and welcome to another episode of A Taste of Warwickshire's Past. My name's Beck and my pronouns are they, them, and with the help of my housemates behind the scenes and maybe little Tara here, we're going to be creating another historic recipe for you from Warwickshire County Record Office. So obviously it's getting a little bit colder, like nights are drawing in, and we're all getting in the festive spirit, so we thought what better recipe to go for than 18th century gingerbread from the recipe book of Mary Wise. So let's read through the recipe first and see what we've got to do. To make gingerbread, take 1/4 of a peck of flour and 1 pound of butter, 2 of treacle, 1/2 of sugar, 2 ounces of beaten ginger, 1 ounce of coriander seed, 1 ounce of caraway seed, of citron, orange and lemon 1/2. Mix all these well together. Let the oven be as hot as for manchet. Make them in little cakes, put them upon tin, and near half an hour bake them. Okay, so we've read through the recipe, and there are a few things that we noticed were a little bit different from what we might expect from a modern gingerbread recipe. So, for example, it uses treacle rather than something like golden syrup, and also a lot less sugar than other recipes we've looked at. So it seems to be perhaps less sweet than we might expect. Also surprisingly little ginger itself, so it may not be as gingery as our gingerbread today. The recipe calls for citron, orange and lemon. So citron is another kind of citrus fruit, which I don't have access to, so we're just using orange and lemon. We also weren't sure whether when it said citron, orange and lemon, whether it meant the whole fruit, the zest, the juice, bit of everything, and whether the weights referred to each individual fruit or those fruits altogether. So we've ended up just going for the zest of the orange and lemon, but you might want to try putting the juice in and see if that makes any difference. Also, the recipe is quite large in quantity, so 1/4 of a peck of flour is a lot of flour. We think we worked it out at about 1.3 kilograms, which is a lot, probably for a large household. We're not a large household, so we've actually quartered the recipe, and we've converted the ingredients to modern metrics so that you can do this at home a lot more easily. So we'll go through the ingredients now. 300 grams of plain flour, 115 grams of butter, 225 grams of treacle, 55 grams of sugar, 15 grams of root ginger, 7 grams of coriander seeds, 7 grams of caraway seeds, an orange and a lemon. Okay, so I've got all my ingredients together here. The next step is to weigh out the correct quantities and then prepare the ginger and the citrus fruits. So we'll be grating and bruising the ginger and zesting the oranges and lemons, and then putting it all together in one go, making it into little cakes and baking it. So we've weighed and peeled our ginger, and the recipe calls for beaten ginger. So to simulate that, we're going to grate it and then pound it in a pestle and mortar. So all the ingredients are ready and prepared. Now all we have to do is mix it all together. Right, so that's all mixed up now. It's a lovely consistency. If you find it's a bit too dry, you could add the orange and lemon juice from the orange and lemon, but actually we found that we didn't need to. We think this is probably good enough. You can roll it into a ball, you can shape it quite nicely, and we think it would make it a bit too sticky and wet to add that, so we decided not to. So we're going to make this into, it says little cakes. Now, the recipe actually says cook it at the temperature of manchet, which is a kind of bread that's cooked at a very high temperature. So I'm thinking we're probably going to need to make them quite thick rather than the very thin gingerbread that we're used to. So we might make little kind of, it says little cakes, so kind of a bit thicker, and see how that goes. Also, so we've got our tins prepared. I've greased one with butter and used one with greaseproof paper. So obviously they probably wouldn't have had that kind of thing around at the time. They just said put it on tin in the recipe, but we decided we were a bit concerned about it sticking. So we're going to try these two things and see which works best. And I think when I shape them, I'll do some a little bit thicker, so maybe some a bit like this, and do some a little bit thinner, and we'll see which comes out best. Okay, so we finished baking them, got them out of the oven. I've got my 2 taste testers here with me. Now, the recipe called for quite a high temperature to cook them at the temperature you'd cook manchet, which is kind of 200 to 250 degrees. So we did these ones at a bit of a higher temperature. As you can see, they're a little bit burnt around the edges, so we thought we'd try a few more at a kind of more gingerbread temperature, 180 for a slightly longer time. So we'll try them all out and see which one came out best. Should we give these ones a go? I don't know if they're quite solid. I don't know. I don't know if you want to try it. Give it a try. See if we can break it. Oh yeah. Oh, they're quite treacly.
I'm gonna go for the middle, which isn't burnt.
A little tough on the teeth.
Quite tough. Very treacly. I'm not getting much other flavours. Maybe a touch of ginger there.
They are very treacly. Got a coriander seed, that's quite nice.
The consistency is quite good.
Yeah, they're quite.
Coriander seeds are good.
Yeah. If you don't like treacle, you probably wouldn't like them.
I'm not a massive fan myself.
Okay, so they were edible. I wasn't thinking they'd be a bit too burnt, but they seem okay. Should we move on to the...
Yeah.
So these ones were done for longer, but we turned the oven down partway through. So they were on a high temperature, and then we turned them down to about 200.
So these had 12 minutes at 230, and then these have had an additional 6 minutes at 200, I think.
The recipe did say to cook them until half an hour about.
Yes.
And these were a lot shorter than that, but they were just burning. Like this is blackened on the bottom.
Yeah.
Don't know.
There's mine. I think I might just have to...
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
See, these ones had a little bit of give once you got into the centre, whereas these are quite rock solid all the way through.
No, these are very solid.
Mine's a bit fatter than yours, and it's got quite like... It's not squishy, but like in the middle, it's less biscuity. It's more kind of...
Yeah, it has got a bit of give to it.
Yeah, it's maybe a bit crunchy or something.
Okay. So this one, because the recipe said to shape them into little cakes, we weren't quite sure how little a little cake was. And also it said to bake them like manchet and the high temperature, so we thought, why not try a really big one? So this was also at the high temperature. It's a little bit blackened around the outside, but we thought it might be a little bit closer to what they were perhaps making. More like a bread, like a gingerbread. I feel like biblical.
Yeah, like a priest.
Okay, so yeah, a bit fluffy. Well, I wouldn't say fluffy, but the texture seems a bit. I don't know. Do you want to give it a try?
Yeah.
What?
There you are.
There we go. Lovely.
Wee.
Oh. That's better, I'd say.
Yeah.
And you get a better spread of the spices, I think. Like you'll actually get a mouthful of like the caraway and the coriander, which you wouldn't necessarily get in a smaller one.
Yeah, it's cooked all the way through. Definitely a lot
That's alright.
softer and nicer in the middle.
Crunch on the outside is quite nice. Okay. I think that's the best so far.
Yeah,
Definitely,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
and quite hearty.
Yeah.
So these ones we did at, what was it, 180 for closer to half an hour. So
Yes,
lower
they're at the full
temperature.
half an hour, full 180.
Full half
At
an hour.
180.
It's still a little bit dark, but it might just be the treacle, I'm not sure. Well, this is quite solid.
Oh,
Very solid.
wow. Thank you.
Enjoy!
I will.
No, I still am not convinced by that. It's very...
Oh no, that's the toughest so far.
I
Yeah.
literally can't break this.
But then maybe if we did it thin... Do you want to try something? If we did it thinner, it would be more like that kind of solid gingerbread, like snap, perhaps. They're not really snapping because they're so thick. It's got crunch to it. I can hear it.
That's pure crunch all the way down. I think they're the worst so far.
No, I think they're the worst. I think these are. I think.
I'm enjoying the crunch, actually,
I
rather than
quite
the
like it.
stickiness. I think, well, I'm getting more ginger actually. I think the ginger's come through better, but it might just be that mouthful. I think these ones would work well for thin biscuits with a snap, maybe slightly shorter time. But I think this is maybe closer to what the recipe called
Yeah,
for.
especially because it was in a like loaf-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these. Yeah, I'm a big fan of these.
Brilliant. So there we have it, 18th century gingerbread from the recipe book of Mary Wise. Our favourite was definitely in the end the larger of the gingerbreads. It was more of a loaf, but there was more spice in every bite and the textures were better. But you don't have to take our word for it. You can have a look in the description below where we'll put the recipe and you can try it at home. Let us know how it goes, what you think, any things that work better for you, and make sure to watch out for more episodes of A Taste of Warwickshire's Past.